wayward sinner. Do you have a charity you've been meaning to donate to that provides resources for LGBTQ allies? Of course you do, that's why you're on my channel. What would you say about the P flag? If you said yes, donate today. Our new goal is $2,000. If you said no, I understand. Just try to pay it forward. And remember, you are loved, you are wanted, and you got this. Now on with the video.
Show yourself, Alastor! Come and face it! Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm not doing this voice for the whole video, I'm sorry. Alright, well, Pinches did alright, which means I have to make at least one more Hazbin Hotel video just to see if I can actually turn it into one of my flagship shows. Or I'll end up falling like Lucifer. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Hazbin Hotel, or more specifically, Alastor, aka the Radio Demon. Now, many shows have fan favorites, a character who stands out and is beloved by the fandom, or at least most of the fandom. Maybe don't go on Twitter. Stay on YouTube. Just saying, Artice TV can tell you why some people don't like Alastor. Besides, are those his ears or his hair? I can't quite tell. Arguably though, my only actual complaint with stuff like that is, I guess they could change the voodoo symbols, as voodoo is a real thing that's often demonized by the media. I mean, in 2003, Haiti recognized voodoo, one of those two, not the Western version of voodoo, as an official religion on par with catechism. What they could have done was either change the symbols into perhaps radio symbols, as Alastor is known as the Radio Demon. That could be a cool way of saying he gets his powers from broadcasting, or they could have done what Princess and the Frog did, where we get a character that practices voodoo in a positive way. I mean, you have Keith David right over there. And Alastor is known for using any old-fashioned thing to increase his power. It could fit his character to culturally appropriate something. While Angel is arguably the show's breakout character, Alastor is a fan favorite. Many people wonder and obsess just what is his deal. So let's ask ourselves the question, what does Alastor want? Well, let's discuss. In the pilot episode of Hazbin Hotel, Charlie tries to advertise the hotel services on the news, and this doesn't work. Probably because it's like a rich white girl saying she understands what us peasants go through, while she uses a private jet, has her father give her a down payment for a starter home in Beverly Hills, and uses $100 bills for toilet paper.
Is this girl for real? She thinks, you hear what she thinks? Oh, she's nuts.
Seriously, the show really needs to address how Charlie has more toxic positivity than joy from inside out. However, there's somebody who seems interested. Alastor. Charlie goes back to the hotel, sulking after the terrible presentation when she receives a knock at the door, which I'm told is actually a shave and a haircut. Oh, an old-fashioned jolly. How quaint and symbolic for a character who's stuck in the past. And she meets somebody who will change her life forever. Well, that was awfully rude. Maybe he was trying to help you extend your car's warranty.
What?
The radio demon is at the door.
What?
Who?
What should I do?
Well, don't let him in.
I like how they talk about this literal monster of death like he's a door-to-door Jehovah's Witness. Or he's gonna do that, my car broke down and I need money, but I'll mail it to you when I get home scam. However, because the mission of the hotel is that every sinner deserves a chance, Charlie reluctantly lets him in.
May I speak now?
You may.
Alastor introduces himself to Charlie and the other residents and says that he saw the fight with Katie Killjoy and he's happy to seek her out.
If I wanted to hurt anyone here, I would have done so already. No, I'm here because I want to help.
Alright, let's figure it out here. What does Alastor want? Well, Charlie believes he wants redemption, or he wants to help other people who want redemption, kinda like her and Vaggie are currently doing. But as he harshly breaks it to her,
That's wacky nonsense! Redemption, oh, the non-existent humanity! No. I don't think there's anything left that could save such loathsome sinners.
sorry, boo. As Alastor mentions, he just wants entertainment and believes that redemption is not possible. They all got one chance, that was their lives, and they blew it up. And they blew it.
The chance given was the life they lived before. The punishment is this. There is no undoing what is done.
Which would make him a foil to Adam. Hell really is forever, and then you boil in a giant pot of steaming jambalaya. I think I should also mention that in the series proper, we learn that Alastor was missing for 7 years, for an unknown reason. That's the question we gotta ponder until at least season 2 at the minimum. Will live? No, that's probably a red herring, but I think they at least know each other. Wait, getting off track. But why is he on Charlie's doorstep like a motherless bastard? Well, he spent decades lacking any sort of inspiration, with the 7 years being the cherry on top. Instead, he wants front row seats to watch sinners struggle to redeem themselves.
Watch the scum of the world struggle to climb up the hill of betterment, only to repeatedly trip and tumble down to the fiery pit of failure.
This is how I feel with my enemies. How dare they breathe the same air as I? Before he can attempt anything, Vaggie warns Charlie that Alastor is bad news. First off, he's known as the radio demon because he used his immense power to topple overlords who had been dominant for centuries, and then he broadcast their screams on his radio show as he tore their souls apart.
And anyone that would mess with him, let's just say, his broadcasts never lacked new voices.
Even, so are they like alive? Like, are those like black things that like appear? Like, are those like the overlords or something? All because they did not laugh at his jokes. It is stupid dad jokes.
Lunch.
Then he took their territory for himself. And on top of that, he's also a deal maker, being an overlord and all, meaning there's a high chance he's there to steal Charlie's soul, or screw her over.
Don't worry, I picked up one thing from my dad. You don't take from other demons.
I'm not even gonna say it. You knew better, Missy May. Regardless, Charlie allows Alastor to stay, not as a deal.
So it's a deal then?
No shaking, no deals.
Stop your Dr. Facilier stick. More by ordering he stay as long as he wants, and he helps out on top of that. However, this joy is short-lived as Alastor realizes the place is falling apart, and they only really have one patron.
And what can you do, my effeminate fellow?
I can suck it.
Ha! No.
Your loss.
So he cashes in a few favors to fix up the place and brings in 2 souls, Nifty to act as the cleaning lady, and Husk to act as the bartender. You know, I can't say Husk, I'm just gonna call him Husker the whole video, I'm sorry. I'll try to figure it out, but just keep in mind how angry Husk is here.
Ah, Husker, my good friend. Glad you could make it.
Don't you Husker me.
Good to see you too.
This will be important later, but you have to wonder, why include a bar? I mean, I know he was trying to make it better for Husk, but did he have to actually, like, do a bar? That's like a form of trolling when he could have just given Husk alcohol whenever he wanted. Or like a magical bottomless bottle of like alcohol like in 4. Even Vaggie brings it up.
Hey, no bar, no alcohol. This is supposed to be a place that discourages sin.
Does drinking alcohol count as a sin in this world? I mean, Vaggie should know. Or does he think somebody will get drunk and then do something stupid and sabotage their progress and then he could just sit back and watch? Or is it a test to resist what's in front of you, especially considering how self-destructive alcohol can be if you don't know your limits? Or maybe a form of, like, therapy considering how everybody talks at their bartender. Except me. I can't hear anything in a bar because the music is too frickin' loud. How do you expect people to hang there? And like the bar by my house has no Wi-Fi and it takes them like an hour to make food. That's even worse. Alastor is happy to be there, but the whole time it's easy to notice how he's treating everybody who isn't Charlie, especially Vaggie, her second in command. For example, he harasses Vaggie more than once, getting into her personal space.
Smile, my dear. You know you're never fully dressed without one.
And at one point, he actually spanks her. He even vaguely dresses her up like Susan, somebody we know he isn't too fond of.
Susan.
All because she's not warned to him, and with justification. Remember the whole radio demon spiel? And he always tries to separate Charlie from other people, like pushing her out of Aggie's way or tossing her in the air. And to be honest, I think this is what Alastor wants. At the end of the day, all Alastor craves above all else is attention and respect. And what better way to get it than by attaching himself to the Princess of Hell? We know he can be a sociopathic narcissist. I mean, in his past life, he was a serial killer, and that got him killed because a hunter mistook him for a deer when he was burying a victim. He even always keeps a smile because he thinks frowning is a sign of weakness, and it keeps his enemies guessing.
A smile is a valuable tool, my dear, and ensures that no matter what comes your way, you're the one in control.
In a lot of ways, Alastor is somebody who can't handle the spotlight not being on him, and when he's petty, he takes it seriously, which makes him pretty similar to people like the V's. For example, in the series proper, he hates television so much that whenever he shows up on a camera, even by accident, the camera starts to glitch or malfunction, even if we know he has some skill with a camera considering how he was able to film and edit a commercial for the hotel twice. In the TV that the commercial's on, it's not like a flat screen or anything, it's like one of those old-fashioned 50s TVs. The first time he filmed the commercial, he made it as sarcastic as possible on purpose, purely out of spite, just because he hates television and by extension, commercials.
Radio show, the proper medium to express oneself. But you insisted on this noisy picture box advertisement, so I had a little fun with it.
But when Vaggie and Charlie were obviously upset with it, he took it personally, and he almost attacked Vaggie later on when she sarcastically did what he was doing earlier.
I wouldn't try that, my dear. This face was made for radio.
Eventually, he caves in when Vaggie points out that if they can't attract any new souls, the whole experiment won't be interesting for him. But he makes a deal out of it. Not for souls or handshakes, but as a quid pro quo.
Just a simple deal. I do this for you, and you never ask me to engage with this frivolous television technology ever again.
Later, we learn from Mimsy that the reason he rose to the top was because everybody dismissed him and his powers, and that encouraged his killing spree against the overlords, just to show Hell what he can do, and that's why he's called the Radio Demon.
At first, people wanted to dismiss him, but soon overlords started going missing.
Heck, I'd also argue that his radio show was another way he tried to stay in control, not only in Hell, but in life, as he is one in both life and death. Radio, arguably another form of content creation, is all about getting people to pay attention to you and listening to your every word, often persuading them to your way of thinking. Plus, it's arguably harder as true radio is dead, replaced with TV and podcasts. But what about Zestiel? He's an overlord that's older than Alastor, like way older? Why was he left alone? Because, Catherine, he's played by King Arthur. No, really, it's not true. True, I think they said he was the oldest overlord, but perhaps either he was one of the few who did believe in Alastor, therefore he was spared, or he was the one that got away and nearly defeated him, something Vox couldn't even do, hence why Alastor views him as off the radar. Perhaps he did something worthy of his respect. Or, as we know, Alastor is a big believer in the old ways, hence his friendship with Rosie. Maybe he appreciated Zestiel enough to let him live, as Zestiel talks like he swallowed a Shakespeare book.
It would be grander folly by far to assume the workings of your mind, Alastor. Thou hast been naught but an enigma since thy manifested in this realm.
But while we do know that Alastor has a series-long agenda, which I'll get to in a minute, I think this is also part of what he wants above all all else. Attention, fear, respect, and people bowing when they see him. Which, in a way, he does kind of get with Zestiel, even if Zestiel treats him like an equal. When he and Alastor are just plain walking on the street one day, people are crapping their pants and lighting themselves on fire just at the sight of the two.
Indeed. Looks like we might have some acid rain this afternoon.
If our luck doth hold, I do revel in the screams.
Some people have speculated maybe that's Zestiel's power, but the overlords seem to be immune. And not to mention the Egg Boys. And besides, if you saw these two walking in broad daylight, what would you do? Speaking of, I think this mindset also applies to Nifty. Throughout the pilot and the actual show, one of the few people Alastor shows true fondness for is Nifty.
Play Nifty.
I really like them, Alastor. They let me put on roach puppet shows without booing.
An enjoyable collective to be around.
True, it's probably more like a fondness you would have for a cat or a dog, but the fondness is there. He lets her touch him and perch on him when he hates any form of physical contact. And when Nifty puts dead roaches on his head, rather than freaking out, he thinks it's the cutest thing ever. More than anything.
Oh, to understand your twisted little mind.
I like the detail that he laughs longer than Nifty, like he wants the attention or to prove something as minor as I'm better than you because I can laugh longer than you, and therefore I'm more superior than you. Well, you can also make the argument that Nifty is as stuck in the past as Alastor and Mimsy and Rosie, as she thinks that women are only good as homemakers.
I'm sorry, that's rude. Oh man, this place is filthy. It really needs a lady's touch, which is weird because you're all ladies, no offense.
She died in the 50s. She also worships the ground Alastor walks on, like a bad boy. Like dubbing him King Rote, or being happy to do his bidding, unlike Husk who needed coaxing.
You actually think I'd be cleaning bottles and listening to you and moan all the time if he wasn't forcing me?
I like being forced.
Keep that to yourself, Nev.
So she's allowed to live. However, we have something else to address. What about Vox? Wouldn't he want attention from him? Well, no. For one, at least to Alastor, Vox seems too pathetic for his liking, and he's also a frickin' TV who constantly updates. Remember, one of the things Alastor hates. On top of that, he does nothing to respect or honor the goat himself. Or perhaps the deer in this case? I wonder what the acronym would be. You guys do it down below. With many of his schemes coming off like somebody asked you out to dinner, and you said no. So they tapped your landlines, sent flowers to your house, all that jazz. After all, when Alastor came back to town, he wasn't the one to restart the rivalry. Vox was. He just broadcasted to TV that Alastor was back, and Alastor made him look pathetic in turn. Think about it, he wasn't gonna bug them or anything. If Vox just kept his mouth shut, he would have been left alone. Which, if I had to argue, is probably why Vox is barely a part of Season 1. As much as people complain, Alastor doesn't view him as special enough to take on seriously. And now that he's working for Charlie, he can't add screams to his broadcast without arousing suspicion. Same went for Serpentius. Alastor doesn't care enough to pay him any mind, as he can deal with him as easily as wiping a fly off his windshield. It just amuses him.
He's got a few more hits in him.
Even if Pinches tore off a piece of his coat, Alastor took that personally. Probably because it wasn't a true defeat. It was just playing possum.
Oh! Not many people have been able to take even this much off me. It must have meant quite a lot to you.
Don't steal, be selfless, stick it to the man. All of this comes back to bite Alastor in the episode Scrambled Eggs. Carmilla Carmine and the other overlords are concerned about the exterminations coming every 6 months, rather than once a year, as it means they'll lose more souls and therefore their power, and also the people they care about and all that jazz. And she invites them to a meeting to discuss what they can do in defense, because, obviously killing exorcists is not an option. I mean, it's not like they can be killed by angelic steel or any silly nonsense like that. Granted, it's nice that this seems less like a business meeting and more like a reunion for a bunch of old friends. And none for Velvet Wieners, bye. But something I want to point out. On the walk there, Cestiel discusses Alastor's absence and the rumors as to where he could have gone, with the chief rumor being that Alastor was killed during the exterminations.
Oh, I just took a well-earned sabbatical, nothing serious. Though it's fun to keep everyone on their toes. But please, do guess. I'd love to know the theories.
Then, at the meeting, when he sees Carmilla, she says hello, and this happens.
Alastor?
Yes, I know. I've been absent some time. I'm sure you've all been wondering.
Not really, but welcome back in any case.
Like, if you think about it, this scene is actually pretty notable. Like, it irritates him that people forgot about him, or they don't care that he isn't around anymore, or at least they're not scared or something like that. But Cestiel? They're crowding around him, happily chatting, a song is sung in his honor, all that jazz. Wow, talk about jealousy. To me, I think this is Alastor's biggest problem. It's the opposite of attention. Insecurity. Oddly, it's the one thing narcissists and anxious people have in common. He was feared, respected, worshipped even, but he went away. He's been gone for so long that people either view him as an urban legend or a bad memory they have long forgotten. Heck, Angel didn't even know who he was, despite being one of Val's top earners and likely a member of his inner circle. Like, you don't think he would have seen, like, Alastor at a party or anything?
If Freaky Face over there is so powerful, then why can't he just make people stay here?
Oh, trust me, I can.
Keep in mind, most people don't live in hell for long, all thanks to the exterminations or the turf wars or both. Pinches is the only exception, but only because nobody views him as worth killing. The people who remember Alastor in his prime are probably all dead themselves, or once again, they all moved on. And let's put a pin in this until we get to Lucifer. Granted, one of the best victories for Alastor in this episode comes from one of Sir Pinch's egg boys, Frank. They have names. Even if Frank probably makes him wonder if he should serve him boiled or sunny side up or poached. Oh fudge, they put vinegar in that. Ew, I tried a poached egg in Connecticut last summer and I didn't know there was vinegar in it, and oh my god, it tasted like a spoon. Oh my god, I can still taste it. Ew. Ugh. Alastor employs him as a spy, and Frank discovers that Carmilla killed the exorcist, but she refuses to make it public out of fear as to what might happen to her motivational plot devices, sorry daughters.
You're the one that killed the angel, and that she was on whatever it takes.
What was that last thing?
She killed the angel?
Which Alastor decides to hide from everybody as future leverage.
Let's keep this between us.
You got it, boss.
And better yet, nobody believes Frank in the first place because he says insane crap all the time. It almost makes Dale Gribble come off as intelligent.
How was I supposed to know this one was true?
Bank accounts are a scam created by the shadow government.
See?
Anyhow, one of the biggest reveals with Alastor is the reveal about his relationship with Husk, their true relationship. The pilot makes it out like Husk was a friend of Alastor who he was annoyed by.
Don't worry, my friend. I can make this more welcoming, if you wish.
And Husk has made the point that he isn't at the hotel by choice, and if it were up to him, he would probably leave. But the show adds a Cerebus retcon to it, I guess you could say. In Masquerade, Husk finally gets up with Angel Dust harassing him, and calls him out on his BS.
Look, if you got a problem, you're not going to find the solution at the bottom of a bottle. I should know, I've been looking there a long time.
Only later on, when Angel makes the point he's acting so self-destructive is a coping mechanism for his deal with Valentino, and the fact that the abuse has made him believe he's only good for one thing and one thing only, Husk reveals a deep dark secret in order to emphasize with Angel. He's stuck in a destructive deal as well, and like Angel, he can't really do anything about it.
I was an overlord once, you know? Yeah. And, it was nice to have that power.
What? I dropped my jaw when I first heard it. As it turns out, Husk was an overlord, perhaps the overlord of gambling if I had to guess. Only he had a gambling addiction himself. Ironic. Eventually, he encountered Alastor and kept losing a few rounds, and losing all of the souls under his command, until he finally bet his own soul in a desperate bid to keep his own power.
So I know what it's like to regret the choices made. And knowing you can't take it back.
Which actually is kind of dark when you think about it. First off, we know that most sinners don't keep their old names. Was Husk a slave name Alastor gave him, like,
"You're just a husk of a man because I took everything near and dear to you, and it's only by my mercy that you're not my next broadcast"?
Kinda like Reek from Game of Thrones? Did he just see him as too pathetic to actually kill? Kinda like he did with Vox and Penches, and he just kept him around when he needed favors? Speaking of, can we talk about the symbolism here? I'm an English major, we have to. Like, when we see Angel and Husk in their chains, the ropework indicates how trapped they really are. True, Angel is tied up, kinda like he was earlier in the Poison song, but it's all disorganized and discombobulated, because his master is easily temperamental, and when you think about it, Angel has a few ways out. The hotel, as his deal is only in effect when he's in the studio, and that's probably why he moved, not just for the free rent, or he has friends who are willing to stand up for him, like Cherry Bomb or Charlie or Husk like he did in this episode. Heck, Charlie was gonna stand up for him before, and likely about to blast Val into the next plane of existence. But Angel was too beaten down by the abuse to realize she was actually trying to help him. Then you see Husk, and he's more organized, which makes sense. I hate to say it, but Husk is arguably more trapped than Angel when you really start to think about it. He can't tell Charlie because Charlie depends on Alastor, and if he were to say anything, then she would lose Alastor's patronage. To top it off, Charlie probably doesn't know that Husk is essentially a slave. She just assumes he's somebody who hates his job. And, I mean, there's plenty of people who hate their jobs and still do it.
Welcome to the Happy Hotel! You are going to love it here!
I lost the ability to love years ago.
Plus, according to the V's, not even Charlie can sever deals like that, so even if she asked Alastor to let Husk go, you know he's never going to. And Alastor is a much more subtle abuser than Valentino. Alastor can poof Husk to wherever he wants, whereas Valentino seriously considered shooting out the hotel just to go retrieve Angel, which couldn't he just take Angel home if it was that much of a problem? True, Alastor treats Husk more like an indentured servant, but a slave is still a slave. Finally, we get to the craziest episode by far, the episode with Lucifer, and it makes the insecurity angle a lot more apparent. Charlie starts to believe her hotel is faltering. I mean, you only had 2 people over the course of 6 months, and Husk suggests that she should contact her dad for support, which she isn't willing to do as they are not all that close. And Lucifer talks the ducks.
Oh god, who am I kidding? This sucks.
Remember that VeggieTales episode where Larry is a king and he's in love with ducks because they didn't want to tell kids about Bathsheba? Oh my god, that is really clever. It's like that. Somebody please make an AMV of that song now with Lucifer as the subject, the I Love My Duck song. Please? Unbeknownst to Charlie, Lucifer does want to be there for her, he just doesn't know how. At one point, like her, he tried to redeem sinners, but they simply did not listen, and he just doesn't want her to get hurt like him. When Lucifer arrives, Alastor is uncharacteristically pissed.
Charlie!
Hey, Dad.
Oh, it's so good to see you!
It's good to see you too, Dad.
Like this dude gets him to even curse, all because he can't think of a better comeback.
It was actually my idea.
Well, it's not very clever.
And it feels weird, like no joke, this episode felt off to me when I first watched it. Like I seriously considered writing a post about it. But in hindsight, I think this is just another way Alastor is starting to feel insecure of his position. As we saw in the pilot, while Lucifer is pretty hands-off with hell, letting the overlords and the 7 deadly sins run the show, he still at least gives the overlord shelter during the exterminations. Even if Carmilla should not be in that shot because she was outside with her motivational plot device daughters killing the exorcist. I'm just gonna say that's another person named Camaro Carfight. She's the overlord of car fights. Bet she probably made the Fast and Furious movies. You would expect Lucifer to remember him, or to have at least heard of him, but as he's been cooped up in his house for 7 years as well, that's when Lilith left him, he doesn't know who Alastor is, and he doesn't care. At one point, he even wonders if he's an employee.
Who is this? Who is this man? Are you the bellhop?
Aha! No! I am the host of the hotel. You might have heard of me from my radio broadcast.
Gasp! Lucifer. It's racist to assume he automatically works there. But jokes aside, I'm sure that set him off. Oh, I spent all my time in this crappy hotel fixing it up, and you're gonna call me a bellhop? Yeah, that rhymes. And he spends the entire episode passive-aggressively taunting Lucifer over whatever he can. His height, his stupid apple cane, and better yet, his support of Charlie. As Charlie said at the beginning, Lucifer wasn't there for her after her mother left due to the grief, and it's only now that he's starting to come around. He didn't support her or the hotel when he obviously could have. Perhaps the most he did was give her the building space. And he didn't even bother to watch the commercial when it aired on TV. To this end, Alastor plays up his support of Charlie as being paternal love, like, I'm so proud of her, I'm as faithful as a nun, hence these upside down crosses which actually have a biblical origin that many people forget, which actually paints them as being kind of holy. Sorry, this is one of my pet peeves. I am so invested in this place even if I've made it clear that I'm just here for the giggles.
Thank you, Alastor.
Quite an impressive young lady. We're all very proud of her.
Heck, I've heard a few people say that the song, Hell's Greatest Dad, is Alastor's way of saying, she calls me daddy. Ew, that is so gross. Then again, we all know he's an ace in the hole.
What now?
Like, holy crap, he has some real balls to be threatening the King of Hell, even if it's just him cracking jokes mostly. He's lucky that Lucifer was feeling pretty good. Later, their song is rudely interrupted by Mimsy, even if that was like my favorite part, who says that she just wanted to spend time with Alastor and sought him out.
How you been? Good? Good.
Oh, it hurts. It really hurts. Charlie and Vaggie decide to give Lucifer a tour of the hotel, with Alastor tagging along.
I'm sure Charlie can handle showing me around.
Nonsense! We started the hotel together, and we'll show it off together. Right, Charlie?
Oh!
But along the way, he found Ruth, Gladys, Rosemary, and Irving, and then he murdered them all. Plus, Husk was there too. Husk tries to ask him about Mimsy, but Alastor refuses to listen, and continues to treat Husk like condescending garbage.
You've been gone a while, and it's not like anybody knows why.
They don't need to know, and don't you worry your fuzzy head about it.
Until Husk finally shows he's got bigger balls than him. He might be a cat, but he ain't neutered.
Big talk for someone who's also on a leash.
What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry you didn't hear him, Alastor. He said, big talk for someone who's also on a leash. And then your eyes did that thing. So yes, as it turns out, Alastor is as trapped as Husk is, having a deal with somebody else who limits his powers. But he's so insecure about somebody discovering his secret that he acts super evil here.
I will tear your soul apart and broadcast your screams for every other disrespectful wretch who dares to question me.
Wait, who is it? We don't know. The general theory is that he made a deal with Lilith, hence the pair missing for 7 years each, and why he's close to Charlie. But once again, I don't think it's her. If Lilith sent him to watch over Charlie, why did he wait 7 years to actually help her? Granted, I feel like they probably know each other, and it's gonna be like the Netflix version of A Series of Unfortunate Events, where they at least have a connection, but I don't think she owns him. To me, my idea is either Eve, as we never see her in present day, or Rue, aka the root of all evil character from Fizzy Pop's live streams, hence why he was able to gain such power practically overnight, and why he's the only character who uses voodoo. Later, Mimsy reveals the real reason she went to the hotel. She's hiding out from some gangsters. She stole $50K from them to give to a dude named Verbal Ace, and make a weirdo video about Charlie. And they got mad she won't do one about the amazing digital circus, and they are coming to end her.
MC, we know you're in there, you lousy.
As it turns out, Mimsy regularly gets into trouble, and whenever she does, she rushes to Alastor to bail her out. This time, Vaggie wants to help, but Alastor wants to do it personally.
It's time I remind everyone why I am here. A reminder to all. not to mess with the radio demon.
Now, you might be wondering, why is he doing this here? To show up to Lucifer, who's having a smug talk with Charlie? That way he can also prove himself to her? Or perhaps to the rest of hell? I mean, he does say,
I will devour each and every one of you.
Yes, sir. What'd I tell you?
and this is the one time we actually see him going into his full demon form. Stayed Gone doesn't count. That was just a taste. Here, I think Alastor wanted to show he was still good enough. Still the radio demon that everybody feared. Hence why he was so violent with them, whereas as we saw with Serpentches, he could just snap his fingers and be done with it. After Alastor deals with the goons, Bimsy goes to congratulate him, and rather than saying, "It's the least I can do," or something along those lines, he tells her to leave. Either stay to improve herself, or leave.
You deliberately brought danger to this place just to have me clean up your mess. I can't have that here, but I think we both know that's not really your style. So you need to leave.
Once again, I wonder about this. Is he trying to show up to Lucifer once again? Did Husk rattle him? Is it to prove his commitment? Or has he grown to care about the hotel as much as he doesn't want to admit? Admittedly, one of the main problems most people, including myself, have with Hazbin Hotel is the pacing. It's all over the place. For people who hate the filler of shows like SU or Amphibia, I present this. And you have A24 to thank for that. VisiPop wanted 10 to 15 episodes, but A24 would only commit to 8, so they had to compress a lot of their earlier points. So it does seem weird to me that Alastor is claiming both here, and later in the finale when he's alone with Nifty, he says that deep down the hotel has grown on him.
It's been a surprising thrill to witness these wayward souls find connection. Almost makes one sentimental, eh, Nifty?
As we never got any moment of that actually happening, or him actually bonding with the residents or the staff in a meaningful way. And every time besides that, it was just him putting on an act. So yeah, I'm leaning towards him just trying to show up. Eventually, Charlie's pleas are denied by Heaven, or rather by Sarah, because Emily and a few others seem to be willing to listen. And on top of that, Vaggie lied to her about her origins, and Adam promises that he's going to target the hotel during the next extermination, and this causes her immense grief. This time, Alastor changes approach, because after all, this is Charlie at her lowest point, and when you're at your low point, it makes you much easier to manipulate.
Ugh, go away, Alastor.
Now, is that any way to act after picking a fight with all of heaven and dooming everyone you love?
He decides to act like Charlie's cool uncle, or her best friend. Come on, you would expect he's at a sleepover and Becca's mom is letting him try wine coolers.
Who's joking? You have a captive audience downstairs waiting to hear what kind of inspiring performance you have planned next.
He even puts his feet on the bed. That's freaking gross. Take your shoes off. Heck, he even gives her some genuine advice, telling her the value of a smile and how she needs to go downstairs and come up with a plan.
I don't know how you can enjoy all the suffering so much.
Just because you see a smile, don't think you know what's going on underneath.
Even if every time we see Alastor go full demon, he has these little X's on his mouth like they're sewn over. So unlike Charlie, he probably can't stop smiling even if he wanted to. Then Charlie says something that damns her forever.
Adam has an invincible exorcist army pointed right at my doorstep.
I know something you don't know.
Huh?
Alastor tells Charlie he knows how the angels can be killed, and he will tell her if she's willing to make a deal.
How? I'll do anything.
Anything? Then let's make a deal.
Compared to before when she had to order Alastor to stay at the hotel by putting her foot down, this time Charlie is too emotionally exhausted to question things, and agrees.
All I need from you is one itty-bitty favor. What's a favor between friends?
Charlie will do him a favor at the time of his choosing, albeit it can't be one where she harms anybody, and he will tell her what she wants to know. So they make a deal.
In return, I tell you what I know. Do we have a deal?
Deal.
Wow. When you really think about it, he groomed her for this deal. Think about it. He positioned himself in a position of trust and power. Little by little, he earned her trust, and when she's at a low point, he exploits her. Wow, he's like Valentino without any of his icky hugs.
Charlie, please tell me you didn't.
I made a deal with Alastor.
Charlie!
Oh, calm down. She still owns her soul.
Their deal done, Alastor tells her about Carmilla, and then takes her to Cannibal Town to get some extra manpower from Rosie. During the walk over, Charlie, who likely thinks Alastor has finally accepted her and her mission, he outright said he loved her like a daughter, starts to finally talk to him about her problems, and while it's probably therapeutic for her, as you can tell, he could not care less.
Everything. My hopes, my dreams, my insecurities, my embarrassing habits, what deodorant I like, and she keeps something like this from me?
OMG, that is really sad, but I wonder what he's thinking. Like,
ugh, you tell somebody about the smile secret and suddenly they think it's fine to emotionally dump on you? Ugh, I'd rather go back to Hellmart and keep smashing TVs.
Alastor introduces Charlie to Rosie, the leader of Cannibal Town, who is willing to help her, on the condition that Charlie has to convince the cannibals to follow her lead.
But I can't exactly command all of Cannibal Town to follow someone else into battle. They love carnage and bloodshed. But to get this group into line, you gotta win them over.
Now, the way it's done, it's almost like a test of Charlie's abilities as a leader.
Fair warning, this group sticks together. So in order to convince any of them, you'll need to convince all of them.
And you have to wonder, are Alastor and Rosie testing her skills for themselves, considering how they make the point that they both want to be on the winning side? Or are they just trying to build up her confidence a little? Maybe it's like Satan's proposals in Paradise Lost, where they always going to follow Charlie, as after all, Rosie can just tell the cannibals this is what they're gonna do, but they made it seem like she was a twisted messiah for some purpose? I don't know.
I got a primo connect on a guy with about 8 blocks of territory and not enough goons to run it. Prime pickings for a deal to be made, my friend.
Appreciate the offer.
Throughout the endeavor, Alastor is able to help Charlie. He allows her to use his microphone, if only for a few seconds, to sing her song, which made me awe a couple times, even if I know he was probably only doing that to further manipulate her. And he helps her win over the cannibals by promising them that if they live, they'll get to eat as many angels as they want.
Oh, your people will be far from helpless when we're done with them. And by the end, they will be able to eat their fill.
It must be like telling people that there's this swan near Buckingham Palace and only the king or queen is allowed to eat it. I can never eat it. I want to eat it. But it would make sense he would know what they want. He's a cannibal too, and he did taste that angel head.
Oh, tasty.
Mayhaps 'twas not by a demon's hand at all.
Eventually, we get to the big day, the extermination, when Alastor is forced to try some humble pie, even if he doesn't like the taste. At first, Alastor is able to hold the line by putting up a shield.
Let the slaughter begin.
Because he hates birds, and Adam is a ferocious bird. They on his coat and fence. Then Adam appears and the foils decide to go at it.
Alastor, pleasure to be meeting you. Quite a pleasure. I'm about to end your life.
Awesome line, but I wonder why he was cursing here. At least with Lucifer, it's because he can't think of anything better. And with Charlie and Susan, 1, he doesn't like Susan, and 2, he was still trying to act buddy-buddy with Charlie. Alastor is able to hold Adam for a time, but there's a problem. Hubris. See, throughout the fight, Alastor treats it like he's a headmaster angered with the kid who draws on the walls. But you have to remember that despite being a frat boy, Adam is one of the many reasons the exterminations kept going on, and Alastor just sees him as a lunking meathead. Oddly enough, it's not that he can't get a hit on Adam or something. He does several times, and so do some of his minions. The problem was, Alastor was so overconfident in his abilities that he did not think he had to, arm himself, or any of those little guys with angelic steel.
You should know better than anyone what a soul can accomplish when they take charge of their own fate.
Which allows Adam to harm him and nearly kill him.
'Cause radio is dead!
What that just happened?
Oh my god, cursed Alastor voice! Cursed Alastor voice! Worse yet, Fox now has video footage of Alastor being weak, despite apparently being Hell's most powerful sinner. And faced with no other choice, Alastor retreats.
Have to disagree with you there. Radio's not dead, but it is ending this broadcast.
Which proves that for all of Alastor's talk of love at the hotel, he's still ultimately a highly selfish man who only cares about numero uno.
All you care about is pizza?
I mean, maybe he only cares about pizza. I like pizza. Now, you might think Alastor is a coward for running, but as we know from Revenge of the Fallen, cowards do survive. After the battle, Alastor retreats to his radio tower, which is destroyed, and he has a full-on mental breakdown when he's hidden from everybody else, caused from his near-death experience. For all of his gesturing and arrogance, Alastor realizes that he is still mortal, but rather than realizing this is on him, he decides the problem is his deal, which is keeping his true power chained up. Now, Alastor's focus for Season 2 seems to be getting out of his deal, and possibly taking over all of Hell. He returns to the hotel, once again acting like he loves everybody, and as they're grieving from Pench's death, they welcome him back with open arms, and don't even think to question where he might have gone. But we're still left with a lot of questions, like who is his master, and what is he gonna do with his deal with Charlie? Well, I feel like either it'll be a small favor like, Charlie, can you go fetch the mail, or get me a drink, that way he can groom her for a bigger deal.
Look at how great of a guy I am, see? I told you it was gonna be an itty-bitty favor. Now give me your soul.
Or he could use her to help get out of his deal by perhaps having them switch places, or perhaps when he becomes a twist or final villain or something like that, he could be like,
Charlie, my favor is for you to stand down and betray your friends.
Wait, but you said...
You can't harm anybody, but I can.
Regardless, I have a final point to make. Kinda like we were doing with Rose Quartz all those years back. I think we're meant to have discussions like this. Alastor hated when people did not talk about him or wonder or obsess with him. He would want us to stay on our toes, to analyze him, and to make up our own theories.
How dost thou fall into such folly?
That is for me to know. But please do guess. I'd love to know the theories.
So, it's fun we got to do it here. Anyhow, bye.
So, what do you think?
I'm sorry, what the was that?
Yeah. One note.